2 weeks until Ciaccona is released, and I'm gonna be honest, she's incredibly versatile and valuable, fitting into not only the arrow comps, but spectro frazzle comps as well. So if you're looking forward to playing a rhythm game during your rotations, then this is the video that will cover her best pistols, echoes, team comps, and sequence node value. So enough stalling, let's get into it. She's a pistol user, like I said, and her signature will be her best with about a 10 to 15% increase over Static Mist, the standard pistol. I will add her signature is much stronger for arrow comps. If you use her outside arrow, you'll be missing out on that 10% arrow resistance shred, which is massive. But she's not like Zanny, she does not rely on her signature. Using Static Mist will be perfectly fine. If you don't have Static Mist, then the craftable pistol Romance in Farewell is very good on her at S5. A little worse at S1, but to be honest, farming hundreds of mats for dupes are rough, so if you don't want to grind the craftable weapon, which is her best free-to-play option, then you could use any of the attack percent pistols, but I really suggest selecting Static Mist on your standard banner or farming the craftable weapon. Also, Carlotta's signature is very strong on her, a little better than Static Mist, so if you have that, use it. Moving on to Echo sets, simple, farm the Gusts of Welkin set, it's perfect for Ciaccona when she is buffing an arrow erosion comp. Otherwise, Moonlit is the perfect sub DPS set for any comp that isn't arrow. For the arrow set, the main echo should be Fleur-de-Lis and Heron for Moonlit. With a cost spread of 4-3-3-1-1, Ciaccona wants crit rate or damage, double arrow damage, and double attack percent. Her personal damage for a sub DPS is pretty significant. Substat priority is crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, energy regen, because she does need about 20 to 30%, then resonance liberation bonus. Her initial liberation hit is a massive nuke and benefits a lot from liberation bonus stats. Now for team comps, Ciaccona is an arrow sub DPS buffer focused around arrow erosion, but she has a unique mechanic, letting her play in spectral frazzle comps too. Her rhythm game liberation also inflicts spectral frazzle stacks, letting her play with Zanny. This comp is pretty decent, although you won't benefit from her arrow buffs. Ciaccona does build enough stacks to replace Spectral Rover and even Phoebe in Zanny hypercarry comps, which will be a little worse than Phoebe, but using her with Spectral Rover as the healer is also very good. Now, her real main comp will be with Cartethia, who is expected to be an arrow main DPS focused around arrow erosion, so pair these two up with Arrow Rover for the strongest mono arrow comp Ciaccona plays in. Arrow Rover's healing at S2 is surprisingly decent for a kit that is designed to do damage. However, you can replace Arrow Rover with Shorekeeper, Verena, Baiji, the normal universal healers. And the only other DPS Ciaccona can really support will be GN. For now, she's a solid negative status focused buffer and will definitely continue to be good with future characters because that sort of seems where the direction of the game is going for now. Finally, we're on to sequence node value. S1, when she skills, she gains 3 seconds of interruption immunity, and when she basics, she gains 35% attack for 10 seconds. So this is about a 15 to 20% DPS increase, as it's a chunky amount of attack that's universal for her entire kit. It buffs every single attack. S2, during her liberation, which is the rhythm game, every teammate gains 40% arrow damage bonus, including herself. So it's about a 10 to 15% DPS increase just for herself, and then it's an even bigger DPS increase for the mono arrow comp. It does lose value if you're playing her with Zanny though. S3 is interesting. So casting 4th basic gives her an additional Forte stack, and her skill gains a second charge, meaning she can skill twice. This pretty much means she can Forte almost instantly during her rotation. If you intro basic 4, you'll get full Forte, and then with that extra skill, you do more damage and build more erosion stacks, which is definitely good for the team, but her personal DPS increase is only about 5%, nothing crazy. S4, she ignores 45% defense when doing her enhanced heavy during full Forte, and her liberation nuke. Both of her strongest attacks ignore 45% defense, which is insane. It's about a 20% DPS increase for every rotation. S5, she gains 40% liberation bonus, and when resonators are near her performance, when she's singing on the field, damage is reduced by 30%. So this is very underwhelming. It's sort of a quality of life buff. The liberation bonus is best for her, but it's nothing compared to the other buffs. Overall, it's about another 5% DPS increase. Then S6, when in solo concert, which occurs after her 4th basic, Ciaccona does 220% of her attack as arrow damage in an AoE area. This is also considered liberation damage because sure. Overall, about a 10 to 15% DPS increase. It doesn't buff or debuff, it just adds a completely new attack to her kit that does decent AoE damage and gets stronger with more enemies, of course. But that will be all for Ciaccona. As someone who's looking forward to Cartethia, I'm of course a yoinking 1 copy of Ciaccona. Plus, I want to try her with Zanny, see how her frazzle stacks really compare to Phoebe and Spectral Rover. But that's enough yapping.